Hello, and welcome to my full show review of WWE Bad Blood 2024. And lots to talk about, so let's just jump right into it, shall we? So the show opened with a song. I don't know what song, but it started with a song, a patriotic one. I assume that was... I tuned in like halfway through the song, like I was like maybe 30 seconds late onto the... to start the actual show. I assume this was to do with the, obviously showing support to the victims of the hurricane. And obviously my heart goes out to anyone affected by that. It's, awful, what's happened to people. But I didn't actually hear why, so I assume it was something to do with that. Then we saw the opening video package. Then we saw Triple H walking backstage. Then we saw Cody Rhodes and that rapper guy, I've forgotten his name, arriving. Then we had the hosts, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi, who essentially said nothing. Then we had the cell lowering. Then we had entrances. And the opening bell for the first match rang at 16 minutes past the hour. We had 16 minutes of essentially nothing happening on this show before the first bell rang. And this was a theme for me throughout the show. I noticed it early, obviously, as you can tell by the fact that I took notes on when the first bell rang. It was actually very nearly 17 minutes past. Like I only looked at my time on my phone, and maybe 10 seconds later it ticked over to 17. So it was basically 17 minutes past. Yeah, this was a theme of the show, and a theme for WWE in general that I've started to notice is the matches aren't necessarily super slow paced all the time. Some of them are, but the show is. My goodness, they don't waste a lot of time in between. I'm not going to keep harping on about that, by the way, so don't worry, you don't have to click off if you're not interested in the timekeeping. It's just something I noted. Right, so obviously we started off with Drew and Punk in the Hell in a Cell. We got blood. Punk started bleeding at 26 or 27 minutes past, so 10 minutes into the match. I just thought that was interesting because this match went over half an hour, so Punk was busted open. I mean, obviously he'd kind of stopped bleeding by the end. He started coagulating, but 20 whole minutes of the match he was bleeding for. I didn't make many notes on this match. I don't do play-by-play as such in my reviews. If you want to actually see the match, having me describe it to you is not the same. Just go watch the match. Go watch the show. But I put this was perfect brutality. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that this was perfect. There was storytelling. There was brutality that made sense. It wasn't just for the sake of brutality. It was... yeah, incredible, honestly. I put in my notes, I hope they don't do this often, partially because of the safety of everyone involved, because obviously, these matches are less safe, but secondly, just because it felt really special. Like, it really stood out, and it wouldn't feel special if they just did it all the time, right? So, yeah, that's sort of a couple of reasons. I hope they don't actually do matches like this very often. There was, for the end, there was a horrendous steps bump for Drew. Like, that looked nasty. And then Punk wrapped a chain around his knee and thigh, and then hit the go to sleep on the chain. And then got the 3. So yeah, I predicted Punk to win. So 1 from 1, baby. Yeah, it was. This match was amazing, and there was a lot of talk about whether this match should have main event. Well, before the show, I haven't seen any discourse since because I haven't really looked online since I woke up. But there was a lot of discourse beforehand about how this match should have been main eventing. I'll give my thoughts on that after the main event, I think. Because at the time, I was like, I'll withhold judgment until I've seen the main event, but wow. Like, how is the rest of the show going to follow that? It was so good. Turns out the answer was they were going to follow with with Bailey and Nia, which is certainly a decision. Before we get there, though, there was an awful lot of medical attention for Punk, you know, the winner. And then Drew just kind of got his sloppy seconds once he decided he was okay and had a bit of oxygen, and Drew was just in the ring. Honestly, looking better off than Punk. Like, he was just fuming. Like, it looked like... the segment, the whole segment ended. The match was just over half an hour long. I think 32 minutes. I haven't looked at the official timings, but just based on I know when the opening bell rang, and I did make a note of when the final bell rang roughly. But I wasn't watching to the second or anything. But the whole segment ended at 53, nearly 54 minutes past the hour. So 7, nearly 6 minutes to the next hour. So they got like a whole hour of the show. Like, okay, sure, there was all the bumps before their entrances started, but they got a big chunk. They got given time to work with, and boy howdy did they work with it. That was incredible. I really enjoyed that. Then the Firefly Funhouse music started, and I got overwhelmed with this wave of sad nostalgia. Like, at first I was excited. I heard the music, and I've talked before on this channel about how I don't seem capable of sort of accepting that Bray Wyatt isn't coming back in a weird way. Like, I understand it from a logical standpoint, but like this, an emotional standpoint. My first reaction to hearing the Firefly Funhouse music was to get excited. Now, obviously Bray's not coming back. But yeah, that was my first reaction, was to like react as if it was someone making a return. Like, it was genuinely that kind of reaction. So, yeah, it was an announcement that The Fiend's coming to 2K24, and I put, it's probably my faction BS, you know, those Persona cards that are super expensive and are clearly just there to try and make people spend money on microtransactions, because earning them legitimately is such a slog. And I put, if it is, they'll be desecrating Bray's memory for microtransactions. And I even tweeted them and tagged them in it saying, like, come on, don't, like, have some, I didn't ask them to have anything, so I can't think what the word is I want, but, you know, just some decency, integrity, I think is what I'm after, you know, like, Bray Wyatt's still quite raw for a lot of people, I think, and I think if they make it a My Faction Persona card that costs a bunch of money, or you have to grind for, I think people are going to really resent that. I hope people really resent it, because, honestly, a bit of a tangent here, 2K24 is such a rip-off than My Faction. Like, the amount stuff costs compared with 2K23 is obscene. And it's like, it's clearly very much modelled to not really be grindable for a normal person with, like, a job, or that ever wants to play another video game in their life, or that has, like, a family that they spend time with, or, you know, just any other responsibilities, like, at all. It's not designed for anyone except someone who treats the game like a full-time job. I don't know. It does not sit right with me. Does not sit right with me. Anyway, back to the show. Next, we had a video package of some description. I didn't even write down what. Oh, I think it was the video package for the next match. That's when I only write video package. It means it's for the next match. I remember now. Then we were shown that Jacqueline, Lillian Garcia, and Booker T are in the crowd. They were loving showing us a bunch of people in the crowd throughout this show, like, constantly. Then they went to the VIP box to have an interview with the hosts, and again, they pretty much said nothing. I think they talked about which match they were looking forward to, and each picked a different match, weirdly, because they're trying to spread the love, you know. Anyway, up next was Naomi's pick for favourite match of the night, which I'm sure was very genuine. It was Bayley challenging Nia Jax for the WWE Women's Championship, and a lot of this was dominance on Nia's behalf. I'll be honest, I wasn't as in tune with this match as I was the first one. Like, I was kind of zoning in and out a little bit. And like, she attempted something like a Hurricane Runner. I didn't actually see it for myself firsthand, but yeah, even the commentators weren't selling it like she hit a good Hurricane Rana. They're like, yeah, it was an attempt. Yeah, she kind of got her legs wrapped around her waist or something, they said. I was just like, oh, God. So, most of the way through the match, there was a spot where Bayley hit Nia and she fell on the ref, who I assume was lying there because she'd just been counting a pin or something. I can't quite remember. Then that leads to Bayley getting the visual pin on Nia, which made me pretty confident in my prediction that Nia was going to retain. Then we get, it's Tiffy time. And then just as Tiffany's handing over the briefcase to the referee, Nia sits up and just stares at her, and she's like, uh-oh. But then the end comes when Bayley's up on the top rope, Tiffany distracts her, Nia climbs up, hits an avalanche summon drop, and an annihilator for the 3, which I predicted, so 2 from 2, baby. I put the match was fine. It suffered by comparison, which is totally fair. It was, whatever went on after Punk Drew was always going to suffer by comparison. But it also kind of suffered from Nia's ceiling. And what I mean by that is, Nia is having the best run of her career, undoubtedly. And is, to an extent, proving all her naysayers wrong. To an extent. But Nia Jax has a match quality ceiling that she simply cannot break through because she's not that good. And she makes up for it with some excellent character work, don't get me wrong. Like, her character stuff has been amazing, and her matches have been the best that she's ever been having, but even Bayley could only drag this up to so good a quality match, and I'm a huge Bayley fan. And that's fine. Like I get what they're doing, and I saw it was interesting actually, because I quite often when I'm watching a show live do polls on Twitter of who you think's winning, and this match was most votes, because I actually put who's leaving with the title or something, and most votes went to Tiffany Stratton, then Bayley, and then Nia, and I thought it was really obvious that Nia was, well, not really obvious, but I thought it was one of the more obvious. It was one of the matches I struggled to predict the least, because the story is Tiffany and Nia at the moment being, quote, friends, which neither of them treat each other like they're friends, but that's by the by. They're friends, but one's got the world title and one's got the Money in the Bank briefcase. That's the whole story. So I'm surprised people went for Bayley, to be honest. Like, I think that was more wishful thinking than anything. Anyway, after that match, there was an ad for the next SummerSlam, which will be 2 nights, MetLife Stadium, which is in Jersey. I made the note because I wouldn't remember that by now. And it was Bianca on the phone to Cardi B, I'm reliably informed. I'm not good at modern music, guys. I'm reliably informed that was Cardi B. Then we had the video package for the next match, and then we're shown X-Pac, Tully Blanchard, and Arn Anderson in the crowd. So there you go. So the next match was Finn Balor, who came out in his gimp mask, and versus Damian Priest. We were also, even though we've just been shown some legends, shown some rappers in the crowd. I honestly, I didn't make note of the names. I think one was called Lil Baby, and one was the guy who did the stakeout video with Cody Rhodes. Again, not good at modern music, soz. This is a well-worked match, I put. I think that was the fairest way to put this. Like, everything was done well, and it was good. But I think everything in the middle of the card suffered by comparison to the 2 main events, but especially the one they were going after, the one we were backwards comparing it to, because I just wasn't really super excited for this. Priest kicked out of a coup de grace, which I don't think many people have done. So that was something pretty cool. That was after Carlito distracted the ref and JD McDonough interfered. That Finn got to hit that. Then more interference while Finn got a chair, but Priest kicked it into his face. Dispatched JD McDonough. Well, no, not just JD. Dispatched the Judgment Day. That's what the JD stands for there, not JD McDonough. And then he was hit with, 2 standing coup de grace. And when I say standing, what I mean was Damian Priest was, standing but hunched over. And Finn Balor was, kicking him in the back. Which was interesting. But Priest wasn't even going down. So I guess the coup de grace, all the impact happens in that final 3 foot. from like the 3 foot height difference, or maybe 4 foot height difference between a lying down Damian Priest and a doubled over Damian Priest, because these were having very little effect. Anyway, he caught him on the third one, hit South of Heaven, and got the 3. I put 3 out of 3 because that's what I've predicted so far, baby. And that Finn should have worn more paint because he had that little bit of paint under his eye. He should have worn the full demon paint because he wins quite a lot with that paint. Obviously, I'm joking. Like, I don't know if we'll ever see Demon Finn again, but certainly not. I'm not expecting it while he's heel and in Judgment Day. That's just not his character anymore to do that. Up next, I've written there was some gubbins. I wasn't really paying attention until Triple H came out. He made a fun little terrorizing reference. He said he was living in Atlanta, Georgia 30 years ago, terrorizing WCW, which was fun little nod. I like that. Very nice. And he revealed a new championship belt, which apparently there's going to be 2 of these, so I assume the other one's going to be identical but with a white strap because women. I don't know quite why white strap equals women, but it does. But basically, at Crown Jewel every year, they're going to do the WWE champion against the world champion, and the same for the WWE women's champion and the women's world champion. They'll have like a champion of champions match at Crown Jewel, and the winner will get the Crown Jewel championship. But I assume we'll have to give it back, because what if they're neither world champion next year? Or next year, can it be a triple threat? Can we have the 2 world champions and the Crown Jewel champion? That'd be cool. Anyway, this brought out Gunter. I mentioned it's a very tall belt. Like, that belt looks like it'd cover so much torso. It's massive. It's like a vertical belt on a horizontal strap. It's weird. Anyway, so Gunter came out as the world champion, who's not on the show, and ends up antagonizing Goldberg, who then stumbles over the barricade, I think is a fair way to describe it. I was going to put hop the barricade, but he did not. He did not hop that barricade. And then was escorted away. Well, not escorted away, but like attempted to be escorted away by security. They all rushed him and got, surrounded him. And then Sami Zayn attacked Gunther in the ring while security were busy. Then security separated them and took them both up the entrance ramp way. And then Triple H raised Goldberg's arm for some reason, I guess because Atlanta. I don't know. Yeah, and that was the end of that segment. So looks like we might be getting Gunther versus Goldberg, which, look, I'm never going to get excited for a 50-odd-year-old, or however old he actually is, Goldberg match. But if Gunther could beat Goldberg, preferably squash Goldberg, I'd be up for it. I'd be up for it because it'd really help Gunther out in the perception of like casual fans of, oh my god, he just destroyed Goldberg, So yeah. Next we had a Royal Rumble ad. Feels weird that it's in February. I know it's only the 1st, but it feels super weird to say it's the Royal Rumble in February. Then we had a Prime ad, the drink, not Amazon. A video package for Liv versus Rhea. Right, can I just say something here? I'm sick of hearing this claim that this is the title that Rhea Ripley never lost. Like, yes, she lost the title through injury, not through being beaten in the ring. True. However, since then, she has had a Women's World Championship match, which she lost. So, had she never been injured, she would have lost the title by now. You can only make that claim as long as you've not had your rematch, your first rematch. She lost at SummerSlam. She has now lost the title. Otherwise, anyone who ever relinquished the title through injury and then never won that title again in their career can say they never lost that title. No matter how many times they challenged for it, they never lost that title. And it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. I don't get the obsession with it. Like, it was good for the build to SummerSlam. Now she shouldn't be saying that. She should be saying, like, the title that she was screwed out of. Like, I don't know. It's just annoying. Where are we up to? Then we're shown DDP, Mickey James, and Scott Steiner, yeah boy, in the crowd. I'm a big Steiner guy. I love that. Yeah, they were in the crowd. I was happy to see all of these legends. Happy to see. This was probably my favorite group of three. DDP was one of my guys back in the WCW days when I was first getting into wrestling. I love me some DDP. Mickey James is Mickey James. Like, who doesn't love Mickey? And Scott Steiner, baby, yeah. Then they went to the VIP box. Metro Boomin, that's the guy's name. I actually wrote it down. He was there. Chelsea Green came in and everyone was selling how much she still stinks after the dumpster match. And she had to leave, but she said, come on, Piper. And they were all like, no, Piper, you're cool. You can stay. You don't smell. And so Piper did. She abandoned her and stayed. Then we saw like a sort of video package / highlight thing of Dom and Liv driving that lowrider through Atlanta. Yeah. I put the really milking the toy lowrider thing. Like, they keep Dom and Liv are just spending so much time around that exact lowrider to promote the toy version of it. Like, it's very transparent, but it's probably working on all the kids watching. Anyway, we finally get around to Liv Morgan defending the Women's World Championship against Rhea Ripley. And I did make a note here, and I know I said I wouldn't go on about it all show, but the Dominic Mysterio entered the shark cage just over 2 hours after the opening bell rang for the first match. So we had 3 matches in 2 hours, the longest of which was half an hour. Just by some distance, the longest. Just put that in perspective. Like, yeah, we had a big segment as well, and I'm fine with segments, the Triple H, but everything else was just fluff. Everything else. Such a slow-paced match. Like, I've just got back on this channel into playing TW 2020, and one of the things they talk about is, like, fan expectation of like what percentage of the show will be wrestling, and that can be set by your product. What is a WWE fan's expectation at a premium live event that they get away with this percentage of the show being wrestling? Because it's really low. It's really low. When they do the wrestling, it's good. The stories are good. A lot of the wrestling is very good. Just they don't do enough of it. And I'd be all for these PLEs only being 5 matches if they were shorter, like the show, I mean, or if the matches each were longer. But there's so much guff. There's just so much guff. Anyway, apparently it's been 7 years since the last Shark Cage match, which I would never have guessed. It does not feel like it's been that long since the last Shark Cage match. Rhea Ripley came out shilling the dirty damn toilet paper, while Michael Cole rattled off a list of things you can do with toilet paper, in case you don't know. So, yeah, I made the note about it being 2 hours since the first bells that Dom entered the shark cage, slow-paced shows. I put, this does feel a little cruel. Like, is it okay to be actively cruel to a human being because we don't like him? Like, is that the anti-bullying campaign message of WWE? Like, Dom has been revealed to be claustrophobic and heightophobic, because I just did not bother to look up the word. Let me know in the comments what the word for heightophobic is, afraid of heights. To put him in a very small cage and hoist him, like, up in the air in said cage feels a little cruel. Feels a little cruel. If it was happening to anyone else with those conditions, people would be up in arms. And I know it's all a work. I know. He's probably not scared of heights. If he is, he's probably over it because, you know, the spot he took doesn't imply he's afraid of heights, to be honest. Anyway, there was a funny moment on commentary, I think it was still during Rhea's entrance, where Corey was like, I wish her well. I hope one day she meets a man, maybe with big muscles, maybe even Australian. And I was like, shout out Buddy Matthews, or Buddy Murphy as he was in WWE. That was funny. I like that. I put that there was a spot in the match where Liv went for Oblivion and Rhea kind of head springed out of it, and I thought it was a cool idea. It didn't come off quite as well as it could have, but points for creativity. Like it was a really good thinking. It came off really slow. I think Liv, for starters, didn't seem to hit the ropes right for Oblivion. She didn't seem to rebound very well, and then the head spring was very slow. So it didn't really look like Liv had tried to drive her head into the mat, because she got given a lot of time to place her head down and then spring up out of it. But it was a cool idea nonetheless. Dom opened the cage door because of course he did. I called it in my predictions video. I said no one ever has a shark cage match and doesn't get out of the shark cage. Now this was a little bit different in terms of how you would qualify getting out of the shark cage, but I said the person in the shark cage always, and it was the reason I predicted that Liv would win, always affects the outcome of the match. Always. And yeah, so Dom opened the cage door. Rhea spent a bit of time beating up Liv basically under the cage in the entranceway to upset Dom. Then got her back in the ring, and then Dom kind of, well, as they were fighting, Dom kind of fell out, but he had the chain wrapped around his leg, which I don't know if he did that quote by accident, you know, within kayfabe, or if he was actually chained into a corner of the cage. I'm not sure what the point is if you've also locked the door, but clearly didn't do that very well either. So, yeah, so he, like, fell out of the cage, and genuinely, they got me. I don't know, like, let me know in the comments. I think they got all of us when Dom fell. I don't think people were really expecting him to just fall and just get caught by his ankle. Like, I was like, oh my god, like, I was like, oh god, we've just, like, my brain immediately went, oh god, then I went, that's a hell of a bump to agree to take, and all of that went through my head. Like, it's an accident, maybe it's not, but if it's not, that's a ridiculous fall to agree to. And then his leg got caught. Like, genuinely, all that went through my head in rapid speed when he fell out of the cage. Anyway, Rhea then went to the referee, and we had the referee cam actually come in useful for once, and said, look, I'm going to come back to the match, but can I please just have this? Like, don't count me out. And the referee agreed, because what a rules, eh? So Rhea got a kendo stick and went pinata-ing Dom with the kendo stick. And Rhea said something into camera about happy birthday to me. Was it actually Rhea's birthday? If so, whoops, I missed it. Should have wished her happy birthday. How am I ever going to marry her now, guys? I don't know. It's terrible. I guess it's someone. I guess she'll have to find herself a muscular Australian instead. And then Raquel Rodriguez slightly shoved Rhea, is how I would describe what happened. Her big impactful return was to sort of shove Rhea a bit. Then the referee called for the DQ, because obviously the referee's watching this. I don't know what Liv Morgan's doing, sunbathing or something in the middle of the ring under the bright lights. Then Raquel gets Rhea back in the ring for the Tejana bomb. And then puts Liv on Rhea, even though the bell's already been rung for disqualification. I don't know quite why she did that. So technically Rhea won, so 3 out of 4, I guess, on my predictions. I mean, I got it right in that Liv left with the world title, which was the whole basis. Like, Liv won in the sense that she kept the world title, she was standing strong, but on a technical level, my prediction was wrong, because Rhea Ripley won the match by disqualification. So 3 out of 4, I'll take it. But with a little asterisk, I want adding in there that basically my point was correct, that Dom was going to escape the cage, which he did. He didn't escape the chain, but he escaped the cage, and it was going to cost Rhea Ripley the women's world title, which it did. So yeah. Anyway, then we had a mysterious video package. It's for the Motor City Machine Guns, guys. I believe the city that we keep seeing is Detroit, the Motor City. There's a lot of speeding car stuff, car themed stuff, which is, you know, the motor bit and the Motor City, and then the you could say the driving at the speed of a machine gun or something. I don't know, but it's the Motor City Machine Guns. They're coming to SmackDown apparently. Then we had an ad for the upcoming WWE live schedule, like the live events. Then we had an ad for Crown Jewel. Then we had Cole and Graves shilling the schedule with the live events, the Royal Rumble, Saturday night's main event, WrestleMania, everything on it. And then we had the video package for this match. Did you see what I mean about it being slow paced? Like all this guff in between matches. Anyway, main event, Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu versus Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And I put this better be good to main event over Hell in a Cell. And you know what? It was really good. Like, this was not the same sort of match. It was never going to be. This was all about those big moments, about milking a simple tag and stuff like that. This was all about audience participation and keeping healthy Roman Reigns away from healthy Jacob Fatu. I think they only touched when one of them was really on the back foot. Like, I know Jacob tagged in when Roman was like crumpled in the corner and the heels were doing the beatdown on Reigns before the hot tag, like stuff like that. But healthy versus healthy, they're keeping them apart, obviously. I put this was a very good tag match, very dramatic, which it was. Oh, by the way, can we just talk about the fact that I'm pretty sure that Roman Reigns' first lot of pyro hit early? Because he was still walking out. Bunch of pyro went off, then he stopped in the entranceway and raised his finger. And I'm sure that's where the pyro's supposed to go off above him, right? But either he was late into position, because he wasn't... the pyro felt like it was kind of timed with the music quite well, like the lull in the music, so maybe Roman was actually off time. But either way, you should set off the pyro when the man raises his arms, because that's what looks the most impressive, right? Yeah, so anyway, the match, very good, very dramatic. It was very standard tag team fare, but, you know, it was all amplified by, you know, the high stakes, the high drama of the situation, and the names involved, especially on the Cody Rhodes Roman Reigns side. Cody sacrificed himself by doing a splash through the announce table on Jacob Fatu, because he just couldn't find a way to keep him down. Not even Crossroads on the outside kept him down, which was reminiscent of when Jacob Fatu injured himself doing the same thing to Roman or Cody. I actually can't remember who he was doing it to, but yeah, he did that and hurt his leg. Then the Tongans show up. Then someone in a hoodie and a bandana shows up. It's Jimmy Uso, guys. Jimmy Uso's back and he's on Team Roman, because of course he is. And that got a really good reaction from the crowd, which I was glad to see. So that was really fun. And we're slowly building that War Games situation, aren't we? We're slowly building it. And then the match finished with Reigns hitting a spear on Solo for the 3, which I said was one of my potential outcomes, was someone pinning Solo or Jacob Fatu pinning Cody Rhodes. They were the only 2 outcomes I could see. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure I settled on the Bloodline winning, so 3 out of 5. I knew I was wrong when I was predicting it. If you would go back and watch my prediction video, I knew I was wrong. It was like, I should switch. I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen, but I'm going to stick to my guns. But yeah. Oh well. Whoops. Anyway, I put, 60% success rate on the predictions overall. And then I put in my notes, surely this match didn't main event just for a Jimmy Uso return. Look, the Jimmy Uso return was great, but if that was all they did with this main event, people would have been up in arms. Jimmy and Roman hugged, they sort of, Cody got in the ring with his title, and they nodded, and then Jimmy and Roman leave. Then the Bloodline attack Cody, and Jimmy and Roman stop and look back, and Roman's like, it was a one-time thing, and Jimmy's like, the commentary kind of sold it like Jimmy convinced Roman to do the right thing, but what I heard was Jimmy saying, it's up to you, I'm with you, like, regardless of what you decide to do, I'm with you. And then Roman just goes, yeah, go on then. And then they go back to the ring and, and deal with the Bloodline again, kick them out. Then Roman picked up the title and, stares at it for, a very dramatic length of time, then hands it to Cody, because obviously, he's not done being world champion, guys, in his mind. He wants that back. And then, if you smell... Yeah, The Rock, who had revealed himself that he was in the area on Twitter, I think it was, earlier in the day. Comes out with his belt, looks like heel Rock, looks like the final boss. Put the finger up as if to sort of, raise the wands, but then raises a second finger and then a third finger, and then does like a throat slit motion. And I put, what does it mean? And someone said I think it was in the press conference that I left running as I was falling asleep, that it was quite possibly saying there's 3 victims there in the ring. There's Cody, Roman, and Jimmy are like his targets, and that's what the 1, 2, 3, and then the throat slit means. So maybe Rock's on Team Solo. I don't know. I guess we'll find out more. One thing I do know is The Rock uploaded a video, or WWE uploaded a video of The Rock backstage cutting a promo after this, so maybe he's provided more context there. But I've not seen it yet, so I don't know what that context is. So feel free to let me know in the comments, but by the time you do, I've probably watched it. Also, apparently, Kevin Owens attacked Cody Rhodes backstage, which we'll find out officially if you're not following WWE social media stuff keenly, why are you here? But hi, welcome, but why are you here? We'll find out officially on SmackDown, I imagine. Apparently Kevin Owens attacked Cody Rhodes in the parking lot after the show, which is why Cody wasn't on the press conference, apparently. So Was finishing the show on that moment worth the sell not main eventing? Which is the big question, isn't it? Because people were quite up in arms about Drew and Punk. And I think my first guttural reaction was to be quite annoyed about it as well, about them not main eventing. And honestly, what I put was it probably worked out better than the alternative. Like, imagine if this tag match had opened and they'd done the Rock appearance. Like, let's assume that was possible and The Rock wasn't on such a tight schedule that it had to go on last because he couldn't get there any earlier. Because that's a possibility as well. Let's assume this was by choice. So you have that massively dramatic, draining the crowd tag match. Then The Rock comes out, and then you have to have the rest of the show, and then the crowd are probably still great for the Hell in a Cell match. But to me, that doesn't feel right now, thinking about it. To me, it feels like it was done in the right order. And I'm a massive Drew guy and a massive Punk guy. But I'm also a massive Roman and Cody guy. And Jacob Fatu. Solo's fine. So, personal preference doesn't really come into it, is what I'm saying. I just think from a flow of the show perspective, I think it was easier for the show to recover from Hell in a Cell than it would have been from the tag match, weirdly. Even though Hell in a Cell was draining and loomed over the rest of the show, I think The Rock returning and the questions coming from that would have done that more, would have overshadowed the rest of the show more, in my personal opinion. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, but that's my take on it. Overall, this was a good show. There was nothing dreadful on it, I don't think. Like, even the least interesting matches were good. Like, the WWE's at a level now where if they put a bad match on a PLE, I don't know, what they're thinking, because they've got so much talent. Triple H even talked about their embarrassment of riches on the roster, and it's true. Like, wrestling in general just has an embarrassment of riches, because it's not like AEW have some scrub roster. They've got an incredible roster as well. TNA have an incredible roster. There's an embarrassment of riches in wrestling in general at the moment. But yeah, WWE have so many amazing talents, and only 5 matches on a PLE that they have to carefully consider which matches are going to go on it. Like they left Gunter and Sami Zayn off this show and they've put it on Raw tomorrow instead. Like, that's crazy that they could do that. They left that triple threat ladder match from SmackDown off it. That could easily have been on a pay-per-view or PLE. Like, absolutely crazy. But, it was a good show. But like I said, WWE shows are so frustratingly slow-paced. And I don't know what the solution to that is, because it's all about, obligations to Peacock to have, that free tier where they cover the ad breaks on Peacock with their own content for people that are paying, and stuff like that. I'm not sure what the way round it is, but I can be frustrated by it without providing a potential solution. Like, that's valid. You can do that, guys. You don't have to have all the answers to be annoyed by something. Anyway, this review has gone on long enough. Overall, very good show. I predicted 3 matches out of 5 correctly. The thing is as well, asterisk, I got the real result of the women's world title match right. That Liv kept the title and stood tall. And I also knew that I was wrong predicting the Bloodline to win. You can hear me say it in the predictions video. So yeah, I could easily have got 5 out of 5. Had they done a different way of, had they done a ref bump and then had Liv pin Rhea from Raquel's interference, that would have been 4. And had I just bothered to predict what I knew was the right answer, in my heart of hearts, my brain didn't know, but my heart knew which was the right answer for the tag match, and I went wrong. Anyway, waffle. Let me know your thoughts on the show in the comments down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new here. Share with your friends. It's all greatly appreciated. But for now, all I have left to say is thank you very much for watching. As always, I've been EBEZA, you've been amazing, and I'll see you next time.